Hi, I would like to introduce Wayne. He is our second speaker from South Jersey. His topic is The Lie is Dead. Can we please welcome Wayne?
Welcome, Wayne.
Thank you. I am a recovering addict named Wayne.
Hi, Wayne.
Thank everybody for being here tonight. Such a huge meeting here. And, I've literally shared at a meeting one time where I was the speaker and there was only one other person at the meeting. So, and honestly, I had no idea what to do when that person got up and go into the bathroom. I just kind of kept on sharing. But when he left, there was only me. I was speaking to myself. There were statues on the wall. I remember speaking to the statues. But anyway, and thank you for being in service, you know. Man, I grew up on NA service. So anyway, my topic is The Lie is Dead. And in order to talk about the lie being dead, I got to talk about what is the lie, right? The lie is once an addict, always an addict. Right? That's what the public thinks. That's what the public used to say. And Narcotics Anonymous is killing that lie, right? Because people like me come in here and we're horrible people, right? Like for me, for example, in order for me to explain this, I got to explain who was Wayne and who is Wayne, right? Wayne was a scumbag. Wayne got high. And when Wayne couldn't have his own devices to get high anymore, Wayne robbed anybody and everybody he could. He hurt anybody. He didn't give a shit. I told my own mother, I don't give a shit about me, so I sure as fuck don't give a shit about you. Right? I told my mother that right to her face because I needed to get high. There was nothing that was going to stand in my way. And I hurt a lot of people. Specifically, like the animal that I was, I preyed on the elderly. It kind of worked in my favor that I lived near a senior citizen community, and I thought that was fucking perfect because they all went to sleep at like 6 o'clock. I could rob every fucking one of them. They didn't know until about 5 o'clock in the morning, right? So like that's the kind of scumbag asshole thinking that I had. And when I got caught at the ripe age of 13, talked about being young in recovery, right? At the ripe age of 13, when I got caught doing this kind of stuff, I had a detective sit me down and say that if he had it his way, I would never see daylight again. Right? And when I showed up in that courtroom and I saw other people sitting there and like the bad people had everybody had a sheet of paper, right, with your charges on it. They got smart and they made it so you could fit 2 charges on a single piece of paper. And I saw, like, looking around, like the real bad people, they had like 2 or 3 pieces of paper, and I had so much it was stapled together. Right? I walked into that courtroom 13 years old with 34 charges. Yeah. For one round of events, right? It was all from one fucking night. Like that, but that's what kind of scumbag I was, right? And that started a process of people noticing me and like, we gotta do something about this kid. I did, since it was my first thing or whatever, I didn't I didn't go to jail that day. Then whatever, it was probation, whatever. I got probation, and all my other friends had probation officers too, so that was cool. Now it was just like that. And so fast forward a little bit, right about that same year, one of my other friends that was on probation, they were making her go to meetings, right? She was like, I have to, I'm court ordered, I have to go to this AA meeting. And I was like, all right, cool. So there was like a whole van of us that piled up that went to this AA meeting. And on the way to this AA meeting, like, we had no fucking idea what it was. But they mentioned something about Narcotics Anonymous too. It was the first time I ever heard the word Narcotics Anonymous. And I had no background about what it could possibly be at all. So by my own devices, I thought Narcotics Anonymous, that's awesome. A place where people can get together and use drugs like together, like as a team, or like that's awesome. Like I need Narcotics Anonymous in my life. And then we went to this AA meeting, and like the only thing I remember about this AA meeting is that like people thought that using or drinking or whatever their problem was a bad thing, and I could not fucking comprehend that. Because the drugs were the only thing in this world that made me feel good, right? So if they're the only thing in this world that makes me feel good, like, you ain't taking that away from me. So, and anyway, so I left that meeting thinking that these people are crazy. These people are crazy. I'm going home, whatever. I'm going to keep doing my thing. Like you're not taking the only thing away from me that feels good. And I remember going home and I remember telling my mom, like, Mom, these people are crazy. And our neighbor's one of them. And I guess you can't break traditions when you're not a member, right? So anyway, So I continued using, and I didn't care, and shit got worse. And my probation officer eventually, she was mad at me. Apparently, she didn't like that I jumped out of a moving vehicle on the way to go see her because I didn't. My mom was just. My mom was mad because she had to come pull me out of a crack house to go to my probation officer. Whatever. So, so she was yelling at me, and I'm like, "Fuck this!" and jumped out of the vehicle. It was doing like 35 or whatever, and I just tucked and rolled and ran him and got high. And anyway, so the next time I saw my probation officer, she was like, "You're going away." So she sent me to an inpatient treatment facility. I was 15 at the time. And I get there, and I'm just like hating life. I think it's funny. I got, I've always been a little bit of a comedian. So I show up wearing a "Dare to Keep Kids Off of Drugs" t-shirt. Seriously. I show up, I'm wearing this "Dare to Keep Kids Off of Drugs" t-shirt, so some people when they go to treatment, they're like, all right, I'm gotta go to treatment, so I'm gonna like clean up and stop doing drugs first. I've heard this somewhere. Not my fucking experience. I'm like, I'm going to treatment. I'm gonna get everything in that I can possibly get in before I go to treatment, right? So I did that, and so now I'm in a treatment, and I'm coming down, and I'm just miserable. Right? And this guy, he says to me, this place that I went to was kind of, I don't know what they're like now because I haven't been to one in a long time, but this place that I went to, they staffed this place with like half were like the people with the suit and tie and PhD, and the other half of the people were, I don't know, they had like a requirement. If you had 2 years clean in Narcotics Anonymous, you can come work for us. It seemed to be the only requirement for these other people, right? So one of those guys, this was my first meeting, this guy named Richie. He was the first guy I met that was an actual Narcotics Anonymous member when I was in this institution, and he says to me, "Why are you here?" And I was like, "What do you mean, why am I here?" He's like, "Why are you here?" And I said, "Well, that's real simple. I'm here because my probation officer is a bitch." And he was like, "All right, cool. Tomorrow we're gonna have a group on you." All right, whatever. So the next day, he pulled, we do this we circle up or whatever, we do this little group, and same guy, Richie, he's like, all right, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions. I want to, understand a little bit more about why you're here and so young and all this stuff. I'm like, all right, whatever. I really don't care. And if anything, like I knew that even at a young age of 15, I could go toe to toe with some war stories with some real seasoned veterans already. I seen some shit by the age of 15, right? So he starts asking me questions about like the first time I ever used what and how much did I use, and I was like, well, that was years ago. That was nothing. And I would tell him, and towards the end, like what were you using like on a daily basis to maintain? What was the most you ever used in one time? What was the craziest thing you ever did to make sure you got high that day? Like all these different questions he was asking me, and after each one, he would ask me, do you think you're an addict? Do you think you have a drug problem? Something like that. And after each one, I would tell him no because. And give him some kind of, the whatever BS reason that, I'm not an addict or whatever. My brother, I used to say all the time, my brother's an addict. He's better at not getting caught or whatever. But but I'm not an addict. That's my brother. That's not me. And at the end of it, he's writing all my answers down on the chalkboard, right? And at the end of it, he goes, "You mean you started off doing this, 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 and this? By the end, you were doing this, 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 and this. At one time, you did all this, which could have killed a large farm animal. You did this to make sure you got high that day, and you don't think you have a problem?" And slam the chalk down, right? And so once again, my body motioned to give him that same answer about no because, and at the same time, it felt like I got punched in the stomach. Took the wind right out of me. Because that wasn't somebody else's shit that he was reading back. That was my honest answers that I gave him because there was no need to fake at that point for me. Like I'm confident in who I am and I don't have a problem. And when he read that back to me, I realized, holy shit, I got a problem. I just saw who I was. Now I know that process is called inventory. But at the time I didn't know, right? So I'm like, but for the first time I saw who I was and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I was that addict that we talk about, right? I say was addict, people might have a problem with that, but I'm gonna get to that in a minute, right? So then the next thing I do, right, I start looking at the steps and I see all this stuff about God and I'm like, nope, like nope, that's not me. And so anyway, so I get out of there and I do what they tell me to do, right? First thing I do is I go to a meeting. I had gone to a couple meetings while I was in this institution, but I get out of there and I go to a meeting, and I had a number that I called and this guy, he came and he picked me up, and there was something unique about when I met this guy at Narcotics Anonymous. This was actually the first guy I met before I got clean. And he had told me, right, he lived in the town that was like 20 minutes north of where I live, and that's where all the meetings were. There were no meetings in my town. And he told me that, he didn't care if it was 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. If I was in a bad place or whatever, give him a call. He would come from his town to my town to pick me up, to take me back there to grab some coffee, maybe hit a meeting or whatever, and then come drop me back off at home. And he didn't want nothing from me. He'd just do all that to just get me out of a bad spot. And I was like, that struck a chord with me, because like my friends, that my boys for life, we did the thing where you slit your freaking, the blood brother thing or whatever. We did all that, right? They were not that kind to me. And this guy that I had never met before was that kind to me. And I didn't understand that concept. Anyway, so I called him up and he took me to a meeting. And that guy was good. He was real good for me. I asked him to be my sponsor, and honestly, I asked him to be my sponsor because for 3 reasons. One, he had a really cool car. He had a '72 Mustang convertible blue. It was mint condition. It was just a beautiful, beautiful car. 2, maybe even more important, he looked like somebody I would have used with, right? He just looked like somebody I would have used with, right? and 3, and probably the most important reason that I chose this guy to be my sponsor, is because he always had something really good looking sitting in that passenger seat. I'm serious. This is why I chose the guy to be my sponsor. So, now I'm out of the institution. He's my sponsor for about a month. About a month later, I'm at a meeting, and his sponsor's there, and I'm talking to this guy. And, I'm talking about a problem that I'm having, right? And I'm like, oh, there's this girl, and before when I was using, she wasn't using, and now she's using, but I really want to, meet up with this girl, but I don't know how to do it because she's using, and like this is where this conversation is, and he can see the insanity, right? I couldn't see the insanity. I'm, trying to figure out, how do I hook up with this girl, and she's using, and, and he's like, okay, he's like, well, what step are you on? And I'm like, what are you talking about what step I'm on? I'm trying to talk to you about this girl. And, and I keep, trying to deter the conversation back to this girl, and he keeps detouring his conversation back to what step am I on? I'm like, I'm on step 1, and what are you? And so at the end of it, he goes, so what are you doing on step 1? Like, what assignment are you on? Like, what are you actually doing? I was like, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm on step 1. And he goes, oh. And I could tell, there was something that I'm missing. I'm trying to... first of all, I have never talked to a man about a woman like that and had him change the subject. I'm starting to think something's wrong with this guy or something. Why are you changing the subject? This is pure man topics, right? And I'd never experienced that before. So anyway, he kept steering me towards his step work, and I was like, you know what? He's on to something. I'm missing something. I'm coming to Narcotics Anonymous. I don't want to live that life. I don't want to be that person anymore. The old lie is dead. Once an addict, always an addict. I don't want to be that addict anymore. I want to be something different. And I asked that man to be my sponsor that day. And I changed sponsors, and he immediately started me in step work. I carry that same tradition today, right? When people ask me to sponsor them, I tell them it's an honor and a privilege. I can only keep what I have by giving it away. And I immediately start them on step work the exact same way. I got clean September 13th in 1995, so that was December of 1995. And that man handed me a Just for Today book and he showed me in the back of the Just for Today book, there's a subject index. He said, I want you to go to step 1. And after step 1, it has a bunch of pages, right? He said, I want you to read one of those pages and write down whatever comes to mind. Doesn't matter if it's a paragraph, doesn't matter if it's a page, doesn't matter if it's a novel. Just write down whatever comes to mind, and when you're done, go on to the next one. And when you get all of them done, call me and we'll go over it. Right? We didn't have a step working guide back then, and that was one of the creative ways members came up with going. That's not the only thing I did to do steps back then, but that was the first thing I did, and I'll never forget it, and I start every single sponsee off the same way. And because it's what saved my life. That's what changed me. Right? I just told you about the scumbag that I was, robbing senior citizens and harming people. I harmed people and broke people's shit, and I didn't even get nothing out of it other than some kind of little thrill, right? I got a thrill from harming other people. Today I get my thrills out of helping other people. That's the change that the step work has made in me. That's the change. That's starting that process, starting step 1. I'm a firm believer that there's 3 sections of the steps, right? The first 3 are the foundation. The next 6 are the meat and potatoes, and then the last 3 is your maintenance, right? My sponsor always told me, if you do a good 10th step, you never have to do another 4th and 5th step, right? They're the same thing. So I can't tell you I've done a good enough 10th step that I've never had to do another 4th step. I'm just saying, the principle's still there, right? So anyway, so it talks about the old lie is dead. Once an addict, always an addict. Our literature talks about how it's important when we're in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting to identify ourselves as addicts recovering from the disease of addiction. I'm not an addict today, I'm a recovering addict today. The first step doesn't say that I am powerless over addiction. The first step says I we were powerless over addiction. Were is past tense. You come into a Narcotics Anonymous meeting, you start getting tools, right? To me, the most important tool we have in Narcotics Anonymous is the meeting list, because it tells you where you can go next, and on the back you get phone numbers, and it tells you who you can call and how to get there, right? Most important tool that we have in Narcotics Anonymous. So the steps changed me. The steps made me into a new person. The steps made me into someone that likes to help people with a lot of different things, anything really. I help people babysit. I help people get a meal. You know what I'm saying? Like I just plain help people. For a long time I struggled. I had people tell me that, man, if I got clean at your age, I'd be president of the United States by now. I don't know. Maybe it's still on my agenda. I have no idea. I'm not even in politics. I have no idea. But I can tell you that I struggled with what is it I'm supposed to be doing in life. And one day it just dawned on me, I'm just here to help people. What was the old MJ song or whatever? Look in the mirror. You want to see be the change you want to see in the world or whatever. Look, I don't know the lyrics, whatever. But you want to change the world. Start with me, right? I got to start with me. I want the world to be a good place. I want people to be better people. Anger and hostility and hate and all those things are contagious, but so is love. Mm-hmm. So is love. And it takes hate is contagious. Like it might take 10 loves to equal 1 hate. So we need a lot more of that shit in this world. A lot more. So that's the lie is dead, right? Once an addict, always an addict. I'm not an addict anymore. I'm a recovering addict. I help people. My 9th step. When I was working my 9th step the first time, God likes to play tricks, right? I just told you when I was a teenager, I robbed a lot of senior citizens. When I was working my 9th step, I was delivering furniture to senior citizens. All of them. Now, the ones I robbed are probably dead already. I don't know. Whatever. But I had to be nice to senior citizens. And, I came in touch with them every day. And I'm like, wow, this, I'm literally put in a place where I can make my amends every single day. And it was a beautiful thing. I did, and I continue. It's not definitely not a one and done thing there, right? So, and that personality change that Narcotics Anonymous brought, right, has carried itself everywhere in my life. My job, I have not just a job today, I have a career. When my company hired me, they said, we really like your skills, but we like your personality even more. You're very skilled, but we really like your personality. We think it's going to be good for our customers. Today, I'm a service manager for all of North America. And today, this week, I had something really big happen in my company this week. I haven't even told a couple people about this yet, but I'm the number 2 guy in the company in North America, and one of the big bosses called me and needed a favor. And it was a very dangerous favor to ask me to do as a customer order, but he called me directly and I got it done. He gave me like a task of 4 things, and it was like, as long as you can get me 2, I got them all 4. All 4. I did all 4 things for him. And that's huge, right? And it involved talking to people and getting people to do us a favor. So anyway, long story. Anyway, but that's how I am today, right? That's how literally one of the people that I had to call 2 years ago he was in a bad spot, and I recognized it kind of like an NA type thing. You know what I mean? Like he was hard up. He's got divorce going on and all this stuff, and he was talking to me about how he was getting ready to do like a 2-hour drive, and then just to go home for like an hour, and then come back another 2 hours to work and all this stuff. And I was like, I got you. I'm gonna put you up in a hotel tonight, and I paid for that man's hotel room that night, right? And he's like, fairly high up in the company or whatever, but I'm like, we ain't got to tell nobody nothing, but, just, don't worry about it. I got points, all this stuff. I'm going to put you up in a hotel room tonight, right down the street. Get yourself some rest and come back and have another day. He's like, no, you don't owe me nothing. You don't owe me nothing like that. And guess what? He's helping me with this other favor, right? But, like, that's the kind of guy I am, right? It doesn't have to be an addict in the program. Anybody, like that's what I do today. I help people. Narcotics Anonymous' message is that any addict can stop using drugs, lose desire to use those drugs, and find a new way to live. That first thing, stop using drugs, seemed impossible. I didn't want to do it. Drugs were the only thing in this world that made me feel good. Why would I want to stop using drugs? So losing the desire to use was not even on the radar. Finding a new way to live, there's no new way to live that includes drugs. And then immediately stop using drugs. Okay, now what do I do? Losing the desire to use is not going to happen, man. There's nothing that's going to make me lose the desire to use. I'm here to tell you I haven't had a desire to use drugs in a long time. A long time. And finding a new way to live. I was a person that liked to harm people, and now I'm a person that likes to help people. I do stuff, and I try not to do something and go around and tell, oh, look what I just did. Sometimes there's little things that are funny, right? Like we just had a storm. Listen, there's been a thing going around Narcotics Anonymous. Maybe it's because I'm old school. I don't know. We didn't close meetings, right? Blizzard of 96, I was doing my 90 and 90. I walked my ass to a meeting. It was a state emergency. No one was allowed to drive. I walked. It's like, oh, when I was your age. No, but seriously, Blizzard of 96, I was like, if I miss a meeting today, I'm going to miss a meeting tomorrow too. And I walked my ass in that Blizzard to the closest meeting I could find. It wasn't an NA meeting, but to me, it was a meeting, and like, I'm making a meeting today, right? And it's probably the last one of those I've been to. Anyway, but that's what it did. Like, we didn't shut shit down. And, So my home group's on Monday. We had the blizzard come through. Guess what? I went and got my plow and plowed the whole driveway. I showed up 2 hours early. I plowed the driveway. I was like, I don't care. We're having a meeting. I don't care. I didn't even have the key to the meeting. And one of my guys was like, I got the key, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. Don't worry about it. 2 people show up and we have the meeting in my car. We have the meeting in my car. Whatever. I'm going to go there. I'm going to plow the driveway, and I'm going to make sure there was a meeting. 10 people showed up to that meeting. Half of that meeting that was there had gone to other meetings that were closed. Kill an addict by closing the meeting. I don't care what it takes. I'm opening the meeting. Now, not everybody has a physical ability to do something like that. I get it, no problem. 2 weeks before, or a month before when it snowed, I didn't even have my plow. And, but I got out there with a shovel and did what I could. I'm not in physical shape to do that kind of stuff, but I did what I could. And again, we had like 10 people in that meeting, and half the meeting had been to other meetings that were closed that night, and we're so grateful that our meeting was open. And like that's it, man. Like that's me. I care about other people today. I do. I really do. I have actually. Narcotics Anonymous is my family, right? And I care about the people. My home group is like my immediate family, right? and when you watch somebody go through struggles and fight and succeed, right? I have actually shed a physical tear for someone else's success. For someone else's success. Someone else struggled so hard and finally succeeded and achieved their goal, and I was so happy an actual tear came out of my eye. This is the same scumbag that used to rob people and break their shit just because. That's who I became. That's that new way of life that Narcotics Anonymous is talking about. I'm a whole different person today. They told me that when I got here that Narcotics Anonymous was brainwashing me, but you know what? My brain was dirty. It was so dirty, man. It really was. I wasn't born with an instruction manual. My parents had no idea what they were doing. And you know what, man? It radiates. Because you know what? I came in here, I got married young in recovery. I had a child. I was just talking earlier. There was a point in my life where me and my wife were coming to a meeting with my baby boy in a car seat or whatever, and he'd sit there through the whole meeting and never make a peep. We'd be leaving the meeting and like, oh my God, I didn't even know there was a baby in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were the picture perfect NA couple until we weren't. You know. She went back out and some things happened, you know, or whatever. It's, you know, her stuff, whatever. But you know, like I stepped up and I took custody of my son and I raised my son on my own. I raised my son his whole life, but from the time my son was 2 years old, I raised my son. He lived with me, and everything that I learned here, I took into my household. My son is a good kid today. I get a lot of compliments about how well, you know, my son is. He came to me in his high school year and said he wanted to join the military. He joined the military and served our country. He was like, you know, why should I pay for college when they're going to pay for it? He's out of the service now, and he's got a hell of a job. My son is doing awesome. And you know what? He's not an addict. He was born of two addicts. I don't know, though I always thought it was hereditary, was a part. I have no idea. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Who knows? I know that. I don't know if he just watched me and watched her and was like, no. But like, my son can successfully drink. That's wild to me, man. That is wild. He can like go out and like go. Like, I can't do that shit. I can't do it. His mother can do it. Like that is wild to me. But he grew up in a good house. He grew up in a good home. He had, you know, I'm gonna pat myself on the back or whatever, but like, you know, like that the day my son was born, my priorities changed. Narcotics Anonymous still stayed number one, because I lose Narcotics Anonymous, I lose myself. But next came my son, before me. I had to take care of myself, because then I couldn't take care of my son. But then next came my son. That became my number one priority. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't happen for every parent, but that's what happened for me. And you know, and that changed my life forever. So I took care of my son. I had so many things happen since I've been clean in Narcotics Anonymous. The main speaker was talking about, you know, first things get good, then what do you say? First things get good, then they get great, and then they get real, or something like that. He was saying, right?
Good, and real good, and real.
That's what it was. Good, real good, and then real. Because like, life is going to show up, right? Listen, I was to the point where, like, I'm not even going to take Tylenol. I don't like the feel of a pill going down my throat. The way the drugs have me chained down, And then one day the doctor said to me, you got cancer. We're going to have to operate, and it's going to happen fast, or you're going to die. And next thing I know, like, I'm going under the knife, and I'm telling the doctor, I'm like, look, you can't give me drugs. I'm a drug addict, man. You can't give me drugs. And the doctor said, if I don't, you're going to die. And they had to start harvesting organs from my body and stuff, right? 26 years old, I'm walking in the oncologist's office. They think I'm delivering something because I'm so damn young. Right? The oncologist is a cancer doctor, if you're lucky enough to not know that. So, like, that's what I stepped into, right? Spoiler alert, I'm still alive. But I was 2006. So, but anyway, like I got through that clean. I had to make arrangements for my son, right? I had to think about who I'm going to give my rights to about my son. I didn't want to be my ex-wife; she wasn't doing good. So, like, all this stuff I had to do, and like, because of Narcotics Anonymous, I was mature enough to do that. Because of Narcotics Anonymous, because of the life that I built here, I didn't want to use. So when I physically had to have the drugs in my body, it made me sick. Like, I didn't want them there. I had to have them there, but I didn't want them there. And I talked to other people, and I kept with the program. I went and stayed with my mom again, right? So, and like, all this stuff. And I did what I had to do. And but the bottom line is, I didn't want to use anymore. I had the desire to stop using. I had a new way of life, and I built that foundation, and I used it. Narcotics Anonymous is a program that saved my life. And, you know, like, that's it, man. That lie is dead. There's a new way to live now, and I've been to thousands of meetings all around the world before it was cool and you could do it online. I went to a meeting in Italy where they weren't speaking any English, and somehow, some way, I knew every word that came out of their mouth. I didn't speak any Italian. Now I do speak some of it. I didn't speak any Italian at that point. I had no idea what they were saying, and I understood everything they were saying. It's the same thing, man. And anyway, please, everybody, keep coming back. I learned very recently the real meaning of you can only keep what you have by giving it away. Right? Like it took a long time for that one to sink in, right? Like what is it that we're giving away, right? Tools. Right? I like tools. I work with my hands. I like tools, right? So if I have a tool, it didn't make any sense to me. So if I have a tool and I give it to you, how am I keeping that tool? It's 2026. We're 3D printing shit. Right? So I'm giving you a copy of my tool, but it gets better. When I bring a tool out that I haven't used in a little while, what's the first thing you do? You clean it up so it's fresh. Right? So now I'm taking an old tool out, I'm cleaning up, it's fresh, I'm making a copy of it and giving it to you. Now I got a new version of my tool and you got the same tool. I can only keep what I have by giving it away. So I give it away. I give a lot of stuff away because I like what I got. I like what I got. So I tell people that, one, I'm not allowed to say no when somebody asks me to sponsor them. I'm not. And two, it's an honor and a privilege. It is an absolute honor and a privilege to sponsor someone, to help somebody in this program, because that's what people did for me. They never asked me for gas money. They were buying me cigarettes, never asked me for money. It was cheaper back then. But like, the things people did for me, man, that's not what my using buddies did. My best friend, the one that I shared that blood with that I was talking about, the whole night, when I got clean and the 90 days clean, he called me up, he wanted to come hang out. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, man, I'm not getting high anymore. I can't do that. And he was like, all right, well, we'll just drink. I'm like, nah, alcohol is a drug. I'm not doing that either. And he was like, all right, well, we'll just get some, I'm not going to say that, but women, all right, we'll say it that way. And I'm like, I'm just kind of focused on my recovery right now. And he was like, all right, I'll call you back. Never happened. Never shared blood with us. Never happened. Right? Narcotics Anonymous, I ain't got to do any of that shit. It doesn't matter what I have. It's my family. It's my family, man. So, anyway, if you're new, please coming back. Please keep coming back. I need you. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Wayne.